Tax Pro. Today I'm going to show you how to customize the way that you're in accounting. So this is Wave, and this is when we first log in. This is the dashboard for ABC Corporation. So what we're going to do today is we are going to make our estimates and our sales invoices and all that look nice. So first place that we're going to go here on the dashboard is we're going to come up here. We're going to go to the drop-down menu and we're going to go to Business Settings. Now, in the Business Settings area, there's a place for invoices and estimates. And this is where we're going to go. It's going to take us to this page right here. And this is where we're going to start essentially customizing our invoices and our estimates. So we can upload a logo. I am going to pause the video while I upload a logo so you guys don't see the rest of my files. So you'll see here I uploaded the logo for the YouTube channel, and it says, it's asking me essentially, would you like to change the accent color to match your new logo? So we can have it update the accent color for us. So it's selected this kind of gold color, or we can go in and we can change the accent color ourselves. So if you know the 6-digit code essentially for your color, you can select it there, or we can go in and we can dark blue to go with dark blue, or maybe I want to do kind of like this khaki green. So we can go in and make a different color. And then this is kind of how it translates onto the template. And so we can see how the color flows, what our logo looks like. Now there's 3 different styles. So we can have this contemporary, we can go modern. So our logo sits down here, or we can go classic. Classic, don't necessarily love these. I prefer the contemporary, but I know not everybody has the same preferences as me. So this is the logo or the template that I prefer. It's got our logo up here and it has all of our information, or the customer information here. It's going to have all of our information here and the customer information here, along with your invoice information, etc. So we can save changes. And then we can go down to invoice settings. This is going to allow us to set a default payment term. So default payment terms are going to be what is going to, by default, show up when you're creating an invoice. So we can always change this when we go in and we create an invoice. We're not stuck to the default payment terms. And when we drop down, there's a couple of options here within Wave. So this allows us to select do receipt, do within 15, 30, 45, 60, or 90 days. I have, a default payment term of due within 15 days. Select that. And then when I create the actual individual invoice, I can always modify this. The default title for the invoice, this is going to be automatically shows up on the invoice. So what the invoice is automatically titled. So we can have invoice, we could put services rendered or something along those lines. Invoice is probably going to be the most reasonable or most recognized title. You can have a subheading that is going to be displayed below the title of each invoice if you would like. You don't have to, but that is an option there. You can also have a default footer. So this is going to show on the bottom of each invoice. So maybe we put, please see website for return information. And then we can have default notes and terms. So this is going to appear on each invoice, but notice that you can choose to override it when you create an invoice. So this default notes and terms, this is going to be there, but it doesn't have to stay there when you create the invoice. So you can put all of these different items on here, and then you can, change this template. So we can save all changes. Now we're going to go down to reminder settings. So this is an automated reminder setting that we can do for customers. And we can set reminders every so often. So we can have reminders that occur on or after the due date that just let the customer know, hey, by the way, we haven't received payment yet. If you turn this on, you just want to make sure that you are actively going in and applying payments to invoices so that the customer doesn't accidentally get a reminder just because you're behind on reporting the payments, okay? So we want to make sure that if we turn this on, we are very proactive when it comes to recording payments on invoices. Maybe we know that we're not going to do it every day. And so we say, okay, well, we want them to have a 7-day reminder and a 14-day reminder. We can also send the reminders before the due dates. So we can let the customer know, hey, you're approaching, you're 7 days away from your due date. So FYI. That. And then we can have our estimate settings. So the estimates settings start with the dates in which the estimate is actually valid. So we can set an automatic expiration date for this estimate. So what's the default that we're going to do? Maybe we only want our estimates to be good for 15 days or 7 days. We want that customer to act quickly. Or you say, hey, we don't really care. We'll give you 45 days to make a decision. You can also change the default title of an estimate to something besides estimate right here. So estimate tends to make the most sense, but you can always change it. Maybe we have, estimate work, something along those lines. And then we have a default subheading. So this would show up underneath the title. We can also have a default footer. So maybe we want to put something in particular on there by default. Maybe we have, estimate subject to change, based on fluctuations in the market or something like that. You can also put default notes and terms on the bottom of the estimate. And then we can move on to invoice column settings. So this is where we can go in and change the titles of the columns on the invoice. So this is going to affect right here, this particular area. So we can change the columns here. We can say, okay, we don't want it to say items. We want it to say maybe products, services, or we can actually just make it a custom title. We can have units, can be quantity, hours, or we can, again, make a custom title. Price, we can have price, rate, or other, and then amount. So let me show you what it says. So this is going to be your kind of item or product or service column. This is the quantity or hours column. This is that rate column, and this is the amount. So the way that this is calculated is you have your item, you have the quantity of that particular item or service, you have the rate by which that quantity is multiplied, which gives you the amount. So you can change the titles on those particular columns, and you can choose to leave out particular columns as well. So maybe we don't want it to say item, maybe we want to hide the description. Now the invoice does have to have either the description or the item on there. You can't hide both, but we can select to choose one of them to hide. You could potentially hide the quantity, the price, and the amount, which is kind of depending on how you want your invoice to sit and how you want it to look. So that is kind of a basic rundown of how we change invoice and estimate settings. If that was helpful, please consider giving us a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.